بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So today inshallah ta'ala we will continue from where we stopped, and we were speaking about the chapter of At-Talaq. So in our last lesson, we mentioned that talaq there are two types. Number one, and you have talaq with compensation, and number two, talaq without compensation. And this chapter of talaq, I can say it is one of the most important chapters for us to learn, because the reason being, a lot of questions that people are asking nowadays is with regards to talaq, and I do not know why. Since we start our question and answer session for the past 5 years, I can say 80% of the questions are pertaining to chapter of marriage, and a huge part of that percentage covers chapter of talaq. And I got to know that even in other countries also, that if you were to look in the fatwas of countries around the world, it is said that the most number of fatwas on the topic of talaq, subhanallah, this is our situation. So it is important for us to learn this chapter, and also it is important for us to explain to others, because many people out there, they are asking about the rulings pertaining to divorce, or they are confused. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us in the understanding, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease our affairs, inshallah. So we spoke about the definition of talaq, and I gave some examples on divorce with compensation and divorce without compensation. So basically, actually, it is easy to differentiate divorce with compensation and divorce without compensation. If a husband divorces the wife by saying, I divorce you, without mentioning any money or without mentioning any benefit, then this is a type of divorce without compensation. But if the husband divorces the wife and he mentioned a sum of money, it can be $10, $100, or maybe a gold ring, for example, or dowry. And the husband he mentioned, and if you give me $1,000, I divorce you. So now he is putting a condition of divorce by mentioning a type of compensation. So this is what we call it as al-khulu. So we spoke about the definition of khulu, and now inshallah ta'ala we will speak about arkanul khulu, the pillars of divorce with compensation. So inshallah we will continue from here. Can one person volunteer to read?
Pillars of divorce with compensation. Khulu. There are 5 pillars of divorce with compensation. 1. Husband, zawj, wife. Number 2. Wife, bud'ah. Number 3. One who undertakes the compensation, multazim lil iwad. 4. Compensation, iwad. 5. Verbalization, siyara.
So these are the 5 pillars of the divorce of khulu, talaq khul'i. Number 1, and he mentioned الزوج. يعني الزوج يعني basically the husband. Meaning, other than the husband, if divorce, it is not considered to be a divorce. And the husband must be any a person whom the divorce is valid. Because any there are husbands whose divorce will not be valid. And the author will give an example. That is, if a child, the husband has not reached puberty, and the husband divorced the wife, this is not considered. Because why? Because he is a child. So we say that the husband is someone whom the divorce can occur. If the husband divorces the wife and the divorce is ba'in, now it is not permissible for the husband to divorce the wife again. If the husband divorces the wife, this second divorce is not counted. Because why? Because the wife now is in a state of talaq ba'in, meaning the husband cannot reconcile the marriage. But it is different if the husband divorces the wife and talaq raj'i. Talaq raj'i meaning the husband can ask the wife back to the marriage. If the wife is in iddah, meaning the husband divorced the wife for the first time, and the wife is in the waiting period, iddah, and the husband divorced the wife again while the wife is in the waiting period, does this divorce occur or does not occur? This divorce occur, because this is a type of talaq raj'i, meaning the husband can ask the wife back to the marriage. But if the divorce is ba'in, meaning the husband cannot ask the wife back to the marriage, like the case of talaq khul'i, then the divorce is not counted. Clear, inshallah? So these are some of the meanings when we say that the husband must be someone whom the divorce occurs. So divorce from a husband that is a child is not valid. Likewise, divorce from a husband who has divorced talaq ba'in is also not valid. But different from the husband who divorced the wife with talaq raj'i. The talaq will be valid, even if the husband divorced her 3 times in her waiting period.
So talaq ba'in, if the husband make a second divorce,
it is not counted. It is not counted. Second divorce is not counted for talaq ba'in. So let me explain to you. Maybe some of you not sure about what is talaq ba'in and talaq raj'i. Maybe I just go through one time, and before we continue. When it comes to talaq, we have something that is called ba'in and raj'i. Ba'in, raj'i. In English, when you say ba'in, maybe something that is decisive. Decisive, meaning you cannot take back. Ba'in. Whereas raj'i, you can take back. So an example of talaq raj'i, meaning husband divorces the wife with 1 talaq. For example, the husband tells the wife, I divorce you. This is raj'i. So the wife now immediately enters into the waiting period, iddah. The husband can ask the wife back to the marriage at any time. Correct or not? Because this is a type of divorce that the husband can reconcile. I use this word, reconcile the marriage. Reconcile meaning the husband asks the wife back to the marriage. We say this is permissible, because this is an talaq raj'i. But when it comes to talaq ba'in is like talaq with compensation. Like this talaq khul'i is ba'in. Meaning if the husband tells the wife, if you give me $1,000, I divorce you. And the wife said, I will give you the $1,000, and she gave the $1,000 to the husband. Now the divorce occurs. But what is the difference between this divorce and the first divorce? Now, we say this divorce is with compensation, correct or not? This divorce is with compensation. The first divorce is not based on compensation. What is the difference now? The difference is divorce with compensation is ba'in. Ba'in meaning you cannot ask your wife back to the marriage if you divorce her. But divorce based on raj'i, without compensation, you can ask the wife back to the marriage. So this is what we meant by talaq raj'i and talaq ba'in. And talaq ba'in, there are two types. Ba'in that is minor, and ba'in that is major. All this and will be covered any later, but I just give a summary first, so that any you understand what you call it. This generally. Can someone just close the door, because you can hear any recitation. Ba'in, talaq and ba'in, they are two types. And we have minor and we have major. When we say talaq ba'in, minor, it is talaq khul'i. And you just take note. Talaq ba'in that is minor, it is talaq khul'i. Talaq based on compensation. Talaq ba'in that is major is when a husband divorced the wife 3 times. 3 times. Either in one sitting or in 3 sittings. Meaning in one sitting, meaning the husband say to the wife, I divorce you with 3 talaq. This is ba'in that is major. Or the husband divorced the wife, the first day the husband divorced one talaq. And second day he divorced again. Third day and he divorced again. Now it's same thing. Now it becomes any ba'in that is major. So either it is in one sitting or different sittings. So talaq any that is ba'in, there is minor and there is major. What is the difference between ba'in that is minor and ba'in that is major? The difference is this. Ba'in that is minor, the husband can marry the wife back again. Even if the wife is in iddah. This is what I mentioned in my last lesson. And you really have to pay attention to this. Because usually we tend to forget this. You have to memorize this. Trust me, if you don't memorize, then you will forget. Next week, you will forget it, because based on my experience of learning this subject. If a husband divorces the wife, talaq khul'i, this is ba'in that is minor or major? Minor. Taib. It is permissible for the husband to remarry the wife, correct or not? Can the husband marry the wife again? If the husband divorce the wife, you count one count of divorce, but this is khul'i. This is ba'in. But the husband can still remarry the wife, even if the wife is in iddah. Why? And if we say it is permissible, even if the wife is in iddah, because the iddah is for him. But somebody else wants to marry her, she must complete the iddah. Others cannot marry her in a waiting period. But the husband who divorced her can marry her in the waiting period. So now why we say the husband has to remarry her and not ask her back to the marriage, because this is not talaq raj'i, this is talaq khul'i. And talaq khul'i is ba'in, and ba'in you cannot ask the wife back to the marriage. You can remarry the wife. Remarry. Yani with a new contract. And witnesses and all the pillars of nikah. But when comes into ba'in that is major, you cannot remarry. Ba'in that is major, you cannot remarry. Whether in the iddah or out of the iddah. So this is a big problem. Normally those who divorce and with this type of talaq and 3 counts, they will regret in dunya and akhirah. So that is why our scholars mentioned it is not encouraged at all in Islam for the husband to divorce the wife with 3 counts of talaq. Because if the husband, for example, regret, it's very difficult for them to get back. Meaning they cannot even remarry. Unless but there is a way. But it's a bit difficult. If the wife, for example, completed the waiting period, somebody else marry her, and there is consummation, and then after that the husband divorced her. Then after that, she completed any the iddah of the second husband. Then only the first husband and he can marry her back.
But the talak is back to zero, right?
Yes, the talak back to zero. Good question. Yani now, and we have a situation, and the husband divorced and the wife with 3 counts of talak. So after the divorce, after waiting period, and she married another person and he divorced her, after consummation, and then after that, after the second and waiting period, now the first husband remarry the wife. Then only it is permissible for them to remarry. So that is why we say this talaq ba'in, that is major. And when they remarry, now we reset to zero. The talaq and reset to zero. Whereas the husband and the divorce and the wife, if talaq khul'i, it does not reset. When comes to the ba'in and it is minor, if the husband and he divorce and the wife with compensation, and then after that he marries back and the wife, then how many talaq and now he has? He has 2 talaq. Even and for example he divorced and the wife, after that the wife marries somebody else, and then that person divorced and the wife, and then he marries and the wife again, we say 2 talaq, and it does not reset any to 0. It does not reset any to reset any to 3. It is still any as 2. Even after 50 years, they remarry. It is still counted any as 2, because any the first any has been used. So we have any the first pillar is husband, az-zawj. Number 2, bud'un, the wife. Why any the author did not say zawjatun, but he said bud'un? Because there is something there. You see, there is a difference between the wife and the sexual pleasure. Now, last time I mentioned about this. When you marry someone, when you marry a woman, do you own her? When someone and he gets married, does the husband and he owns the wife in Islam? The husband and he does not own the wife, correct or not? What is the significance in your marriage then? When the husband marries the wife, we say that the husband and he does not own her, but there is something that the husband owns. The husband owns this ability to have any sexual intimacy with the wife. This is what we call bud'un. So I do not know how to, in reality, to translate any of this. But can you understand the meaning? Can all of you understand? Clear, inshallah? In Arabic, we say al-istimta'. There is a term, we call it istimta'. When a husband marries the wife, now istimta' becomes halal for the husband. Istimta' meaning to have any sexual pleasures with the wife. So this is the right of the husband. So this is what we meant by bud'un. Because why? Because we do not say the husband owns. The husband owns the wife, or the husband and he owns the body of the wife. No. But the husband owns the validity of having any sexual pleasures with the wife. This is what is meant by bud'un. But it's difficult to translate into English. So that is why this requires explanation. Number 3, the one who undertakes the compensation. Last week, last lesson, I mentioned that it is not necessary that the wife pays the compensation. Correct or not? For example, if a person comes to the husband, a man, and he tells the husband, if you divorce your wife, I will give you 1 million because I want to marry her, for example. But normally this does not occur, but sometimes it occurs in Wallahu A'lam. And the husband agrees. Imagine. The husband say, what? 1 million? You give me? Divorce any the wife? Okay. So the husband, and he says that I divorce any my wife and he give 1 million. So now who is the person and who is going to pay the husband? The wife and or this man? This man. Correct or not? So this is what we meant by the one who undertakes the compensation. Sometimes it can be the wife. Sometimes it can be somebody else. Meaning what I'm trying to say here is, it is not necessary that the one who make the payment and it is from the wife. Usually it is the wife. Usually the wife and he is the one and who pays the compensation. For example, if the wife tells the husband, if you divorce me, I give you $1,000. So the wife say, I agree. I divorce you with $1,000, for example. So now, who is the one who is paying? The wife. Or the husband and he tells the wife, and if you want me to divorce you, you pay me $1,000. So the wife say, I agree. So he say, I divorce you by $1,000. So now again, and it's the wife and who pays the husband. So in talaq and khuli, we are not concerned about who is the one who is paying. Whether the wife and he is paying, or the father is paying, or the uncle and is paying, or another person and is paying. But what is important is that the payment must be given to the husband, not to somebody else. And this also I mentioned in my last lesson. See how I can remember? Because I listened to the recording before I come to class. Just in a few minutes before the end of the last lesson, I mentioned about this. Otherwise, I also cannot remember. Yes. Can. What you call it? It depends on the agreement between them. If the husband and he tells the wife, if you what you call it, I divorce you by $1,000. So the wife and he might be paying on the spot, or what you call it, she promised that she will pay and so on. The what you call it, the divorce and it takes place. Unless he puts a condition now, then she has to pay what you call it, the amount immediately. Yani if he tells the wife, for example, if you pay me $1,000, I will divorce you. Now it is compulsory upon the wife to pay immediately. So if she pays immediately, then the talaq occurs. But if she delays, it does not occur. So it depends on how the husband puts it. If the husband puts it with a condition, all is coming, then it must be immediate. If it does not put it with a condition, then it is not immediate. Now, number 3, the one who undertakes the compensation. Number 4, the compensation. All this, inshallah, we will speak later. The compensation here meaning the amount or the thing that is mentioned. Number 5, the verbalization. That is the what you call it, the sirah. Sirah basically the in transaction how the husband pronounce this type of divorce. Because sometimes it is not valid. If it is not pronounced properly, or if it is not mentioned properly, it can be not valid. We have to look at how he mentioned it. Okay, continue.
It is a condition for the husband to be eligible for divorce and the wife is still married to the husband.
Now, it is a condition for the husband to be eligible for a divorce. I mentioned this earlier. The husband he should not be a child. If the husband he is a child, it is not valid. But if the husband he is a slave, it's valid. Slave, valid. Or even if the husband is a bankrupt, it is valid. Divorce from a person who is bankrupt, it is valid. Divorce from a Safi is valid. Safi meaning low IQ. Divorce from him, and it is valid. But divorce any from a child and is not valid. And earlier I gave the example, if the husband divorce any the wife, talaq ba'in, and he divorce any again, then this does not occur. Unless any if talaq raji'i. If he divorce any again, while the wife is in the iddah, it is considered any to be talaq. So this is what we meant, the husband must be eligible any for the divorce. Clear inshallah? And the wife is still married to the, and the wife is still married any to the husband. Wife and he is still married to the husband, and he can have a few situations. Situation number one, meaning they are still in marriage. Situation number two, the wife is in iddah, but talaq raji'. That's what we mentioned. Although the husband and he divorced any the wife, but as long as the wife is in iddah, the rulings any of the wife is applicable to her, even though she is not a wife. But the rulings any of the wife is applicable. That is why it is compulsory upon the husband to give nafaqah for the wife any who is in iddah. It is compulsory upon the husband any to provide house for the wife. So if the husband divorces any the wife, even in iddah, it occurs, even though the wife is in iddah. Continue.
If he asks for compensation from her and she has completed her iddah, ba'in, the khulu will not be valid.
Now, if he asks any for a compensation from her and she has completed her iddah, the khulu will not be valid. There is a mistake in the translation. I think in our last lesson also I pointed out there is a mistake in the some part of the translation last time. Which is the one? On page 58, correct or not? I hope all of you have corrected this mistake. He said jurisprudently, khulu means a separation with a beneficial compensation, where the compensation, I ask you all to cancel, is dependent on the request of the husband. And then I mentioned the translation. I hope all of you have written it. All of you have written it? Aywa. So now we have to rectify something. Okay, before we go back into the translation, let me explain what the author is basically saying. The author is saying, now the author is explaining the second part, the bud'un. The author is saying that the husband must possess the bud'u. Meaning the husband must possess this validity or permissibility to have sexual intimacy with the wife. If the husband does not have any day permission to do so, then it is not permissible for him to divorce her. Even if he divorces her, the divorce is not counted. So he gave an example. What is the example? The example will be the husband divorced the wife with a compensation. Talaq khul'i. All of you with me? Okay, now this is the example. The husband divorced the wife with a compensation. So now what happens? It becomes what? Ba'in. Talaq ba'in. So now when the wife enters into iddah, the husband divorced again the wife with a compensation. This is the example that is mentioned by the author. So now if the husband he does this, by divorcing the wife the second time with khulu, compensation. So now the author is saying the second talaq is not counted. Why? because the wife has entered into a state of ba'in. Ba'in meaning the husband cannot ask the wife back to the marriage, meaning does not have any authority to ask the wife back to the marriage. So when the husband has no authority to ask the wife back to the marriage, his divorce and he is not counted. His divorce and he is not counted. Clear, inshallah? I mentioned this also earlier. The difference between talaq khul'i and talaq raj'i. If the husband divorced the wife in talaq raj'i, does the talaq counted? Now, the situation is this. The husband divorced the wife with one count of talaq. The husband and he tells the wife, I divorce you. The next day he said, I divorce you. Does the second divorce counted as divorce or not counted as divorce? This is the question. The answer will be, it is counted, correct or not? So now how many talaq is there? There are 2 talaq. How many talaq is left for him? Not 3, 1, correct? Because why? The first talaq, he divorced his wife for the first time, and then the next day he divorced for the second time. So how many talaq he used up? He used up 2. What is the balance? 1. If he divorced the wife the third time, now it becomes any ba'in that is major. But now what I'm trying to say is that the talaq occurs. Even though the wife is in iddah, correct or not? The wife is in iddah. He divorced the wife the first time, the wife is in iddah. Why did we say that the talaq occurs? When the wife is in iddah, correct or not? Divorce has occurred. But why do we say the second talaq is still counted? The reason is this. In Islam, when comes into this kind of talaq raj'i, as what I mentioned earlier, the rulings of the wife is still applicable to the husband. Meaning the husband has authority of the wife. Meaning at any time the husband can ask the wife back to the marriage. And the wife cannot refuse. The wife cannot refuse if this is talaq raj'i. But when comes into talaq khul'i, if the husband divorced the wife with a compensation, now the wife also enter into iddah, correct? But now situation is different. The type of talaq is khul'i. And talaq that is khul'i, it is ba'in. Meaning the husband cannot ask the wife back to the marriage. So in this situation, the husband has no authority over the wife. So if he divorced the wife the second time, this is not counted. Because why? No authority, khalas. There is no relationship anymore between him and the wife. Even if he divorced, it is not counted. Even if he said divorce 1,000 times, it is not counted. This is what the author is saying. The author is saying, if the husband divorced the wife with a compensation for the second time, it does not occur. Because the wife is in a state of talaq ba'in. So how do we translate this? Okay. I think I have to write down because I do not know. If I speak, sometimes difficult. Is there? Okay. So I will just translate. Inshallah. So I will translate any form. It is a condition. Page 60 on top. I'll just translate the whole paragraph because to translate some of these things sometimes it is difficult. I translate it from the beginning. Okay? It is a condition that the divorce from the husband is valid and that he has authority over the wife. If you divorce her with compensation, yani khulu', and she becomes ba'in. Hold on. If you divorce her with compensation and she is in a state of ba'in. She is in a state of ba'in. I will translate ba'in as okay, you know the English reconcile. What is the opposite of reconcile? What is?
Separate.
No. It's okay. You just write this word first. There is a translation to this. Ala kulli hal. And she is in a state of ba'in. Clear? The divorce, yani khulu, is not valid. Can all of you understand what it means? As I mentioned earlier. Is there anyone who doesn't understand? Now we go back to the translation. What is the translation says? Can you?
It is a condition for the husband to be eligible for a divorce and the wife is still married to the husband. If he asks for a compensation from her and she has completed her iddah, ba'in, the khulu' will not be valid.
Okay. So now you exchange and this translation and with this, the whole paragraph. Okay, I will explain again. After you have completed writing. Okay, now, the author is basically saying that if the wife is ba'in, this ba'in actually not necessarily that she is in a state of talaq khul'i, because there are a few situations that the wife can become ba'in. Like what? For example, if the husband divorced the wife with 3 counts of divorce, she also becomes ba'in. For example, the husband divorced her with compensation, she becomes ba'in. Or the husband divorced her with 1 count of talaq, but then the iddah finishes. If the iddah finishes, now the husband cannot divorce her anymore. So either the husband remarry her, or the husband, chose not to marry her. So now the author is saying, if the wife is ba'in, in the state of ba'in, and the husband divorced her with a compensation, this divorce or compensation is not valid. I hope the meaning is clear, inshallah. And this is basically what I'm writing here. If there is any question, then you can ask.
So, if the husband divorces with talaq raj'i, then the iddah finishes. Then after that, the wife becomes ba'in. After the iddah finish.
Yeah, after the iddah finish,
her state is ba'in.
Her state is ba'in. Ba'in meaning the husband he cannot ask her back to the marriage. Because why? She has completed the iddah. So now if she has completed the iddah and the husband divorced her, does the divorce counted? Not counted. Whether we are speaking about talaq khul'i or talaq normal talaq, it is not counted. Because why? The iddah has completed. But as long as the iddah is there, the talaq is counted. So now the author is saying that if the wife in the state of ba'in, and it can be a few reasons. It can be a few reasons. So that is why I mentioned this. If she is in a state of ba'in, without any specifying what exactly is her situation. Why is she in a state of ba'in? Whether she is in a state of ba'in because of talaq khul'i or because of three counts of talaq or after completing of the iddah. This is not what we are concerned. What we are concerned is now she is in a state of ba'in and the husband divorced her. Then the divorce is not counted. That's the only thing. Clear? So that is why when the translation says, if he asks for a compensation from her and she has completed her iddah, it is not necessary that she has completed her iddah. Because now the author is saying she is in a state of ba'in. The author did not say that she has completed the iddah. So remember this, there are two different things. For a woman to be in a state of ba'in, it doesn't mean that she must complete the iddah. Because there are other situations, like the example I gave. The husband divorced the wife with talaq khul'i. The next day, he divorced her with talaq khul'i. Does the second divorce occurs or does not occurs? Does not occurs, correct or not? Because why? She is in a state of ba'in. But the iddah is there or not? Huh? Does the iddah is there or no iddah? What do you think? The iddah is there, correct? Whether this is talaq ba'in or talaq raj'i, iddah is wajib. If there is a consummation. Even if the husband divorced the wife with 3 counts of talaq, is there iddah? 3 counts of talaq. Is there iddah or no iddah? There is iddah. Even though he cannot ask the wife back to the marriage. But iddah is compulsory. Likewise, when it comes to talaq khul'i, that's why I say that the translation is not correct. Because it can mean any of you, it can mean any of you things. So just take note. Continue.
It is a condition for the compensator.
I really hope that the rest can come today, because today's lesson to me, let me be honest with you, is one of the most important lessons for your information. But it's okay. Sometimes it's like that. Correct or not? When it comes into the important part, what you call it, people do not attend. When it comes into the part is not important, that is, most people let it come. Wallahu a'lam bis-shawab. Continue.
It is a condition for the compensator that he is jurisprudentially allowed to manage his and others' wealth.
Meaning he is not a person who is safi. Safi, last time, what is the translation of safi? A person with a mental illness. Meaning, if a person is having a mental illness, for example, or mad person, for example, his buying and selling is not valid. So when he's buying and selling and is not valid, his offer is also not valid. You say, if you give me, what you call it, a mad person, and he comes to him and say that if you divorce your wife, I will give you $1,000. But this person is a mad person. So it is not valid, because why he's buying and selling and it is not valid. So likewise, his condition and it will not be, his condition and it will not be valid. Ayah.
The condition for the compensation has to be beneficial and known, and it is determined by the request of the husband.
The condition for the compensation has to be beneficial. Beneficial. This particular word also, for me, I will say it must have value. So maybe don't cancel, but maybe just put in bracket the meaning and your beneficial here, that it has value. If the husband tells the wife, if you give me, name me something that got no value. What is the thing that got no value? What do you say? What? Alcohol? Does alcohol has value or no value? If the husband and he tells the wife, if you give me 1 can of beer, I divorce you. And the wife, and he gives the husband any 1 can of beer. Now when we look at this 1 can of beer, is there value or no value? When we say value, meaning what? Meaning there is a price to it, you can sell it. There will be people who will buy from you. But if you say that this is something that got no value, meaning nobody wants. Is alcohol something that has value or no value? Alcohol is something that has value. Correct? Something in it that has value. Of course, we say it's haram to drink and so on. But what we are saying here, in general, does this item has value or no value? So when it comes to alcohol, there is value. There is value. But is it beneficial? Then you see, now we have a problem here. So this translation is, I think what you call it, is we cannot put as beneficial. Because alcohol is maqsood. The meaning, the Arabic word here is maqsood. Meaning the thing that is compensated must have value. But it might not be necessarily beneficial. There are things that does not benefit you but has value. Like an example, will be beer and alcohol and all these things. Even you ask the doctors, does alcohol has benefits, they will tell you alcohol does not have any benefit. Right? Alcohol can make a person die after a few years. It results in drunk driving and accident. How can it be beneficial? Nowadays, even non-Muslims know this. But people consume alcohol because they want to get high. They have this feeling. But in Islam, we say there is no more benefit in alcohol. But there is value. So if the husband divorces the wife by 1 can of beer, valid. The talaq is valid. Because why? There is value. But is it compulsory upon the wife to buy 1 can of beer and give to the husband? No. It goes back to mahar misl. Mahar misl the stipulated dowry. Give me an example of something that got no value. For example, let me give you an example. 1 bag of cockroaches. The husband tells the wife, if you give me 50 cockroach and 1 rat, I divorce you. The wife say, I will give it to you on the spot. 50 cockroach and 1 rat. Does talaq khuli occurs? It does not occur. But it becomes talaq raj'i. So now the difference in between the thing that is compensated, if it has value, but it is something that is haram for us to consume or to own, it goes back to stipulated dowry. But if it is something that has no value, talaq khul'i is not valid at all. Can you see? But if talaq and khul'i is not valid, is there talaq? Yes, there is talaq. But what is the type of talaq here? This is talaq and raj'i. It is like any talaq and with a condition. That if you give me this, I divorce you. Even if the thing has no value, no issue. No issue. If the husband he tells the wife, if you give me a rat, I will divorce you. And the wife he gives a rat. The talaq occurs. But now, we do not say this is khul'i. Because why? No value. So the condition here, there must be value. So I think it's best we cancel the word beneficial. When we put value. Talaq and it becomes talaq raj'i. Inshallah. Yes? Yes, value. Meaning it is something that people want. Like, last time our scholars mentioned, for example, cow dung. Cow dung. Cow dung is najis. And, in fact, you cannot buy and sell najis. Just like alcohol also same thing. You cannot buy and sell. But is there value? Cow dung is najis. But is there value or no value? There is value. Why? People buy cow dung. Maybe for what? For fertilizers. So it is the same thing as alcohol. If the husband tells the wife, if you give me cow dung, one packet any of cow dung, I divorce you. Talaq any occurs. Talaq khul'i occurs. But the compensation now becomes mahar misl, not any cow dung. Because why? It is not valid in buying and selling. Do you have question?
No, I want to ask about that one. If the about the cockroach. So let's say the thing doesn't have value in talaq raj'i.
Yeah. If the thing doesn't have value, it becomes talaq raj'i. If the thing has value, it is talaq khul'i. Can you see the difference? But talaq khul'i, we go back to mahar mithal, not what you call it, alcohol or cow dung.